You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below. Be sure, smash that like button. I saw this tweet earlier today from former All-SEC safety team captain at LSU, Brandon Taylor, part of the LSU Sports Radio Network. He said, get me in front of a microphone and let me talk some LSU football ASAP. I'm fiending for LSU football. Well, ask and you shall receive. Brandon Taylor joins us now. How are you, dude?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. So what made you so jonesing today? What got you in the mood for football today?
I just had one of them PTSD flashbacks from being on the field, hearing some past pops. So I'm just in that mood, man. It feels like it's that time, man. I'm ready for college football. Most definitely LSU football to start back now.
Man, I know you were there on Saturday. It was a cool thing that I thought Brian Kelly did, inviting a lot of the old players back into the facility as well, and you got to see the scrimmage Saturday. Let me just start with the on-field. What were your impressions getting to watch the team Saturday? If I said, all right, what are your big picture takeaways?
My big picture takeaway is the size of the D-line and how they operate. As you know, LSU's teams are never successful unless they have a great defensive line. It's history. It always starts from that front line, especially offensive line and defensive line, and just seeing the size of those guys. It reminds me of the teams of old and how physical they are on the front seven.
Every time someone asks about the strength of this team, it's always defensive line, receiver. I mean, that's pretty much a consensus right now. After getting to see that team, though, I'm curious your thoughts about the second and third levels of the defense. What do you think about the linebackers and the secondary?
So the thing with me, we've always had the talent in that back end. The linebackers, the secondary. What I want to see it can look good in practice. It's going to come game time is communication. That was the biggest downfall of last year. You see DBs throwing their hands up, people pointing the finger and all this stuff. It's just too many busts in the secondary, and that's not LSU football. So that's something I'm going to have to wait to see on game day because practice can tell you anything. But that's the main thing I want to see on game day is communication from the linebackers and the secondary.
Brandon,
especially having a new group.
Yeah, that was the thing you were always so good at. I remember when you played, we'd have Mike Detillier on with us every week, and he called you the chirper. You were always the guy that was sort of, you were the guy barking out the assignments in the secondary. Is that something that comes natural, that can be taught, that's developed in specifically with this defense where, Brandon, everybody in that secondary basically is new?
Well, Matt, I'm going to tell you, it's one of those things where you got to figure out as a player yourself. A coach, they can try and make it come out of you and stuff like that, but that was my niche. That's what got me on the field at LSU. That's what kept me on the field at LSU. And that's what got me paid and got me drafted to the NFL. That was my thing. If you look at the group I was on the field with, I wasn't the fastest, I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't the most talented. But I knew the playbook front to back, and I knew where everybody was supposed to be. So once I knew that, I knew the playbook better than everybody, I just doubled down on it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure everybody lined up right. Everybody else going to make plays, but this is going to be my thing right here.
Do you think this team has that guy? Is Jay Ward? Is it Major Burns? Is that guy back there?
Oh, yes, sir. I think those two back there, they got it in them. We just going to have to see when it comes to game time situation. And they just going to have to make sure everybody's lined up. And it's all about putting the time in and the effort. You have to be a selfless person to be that type of guy in that secondary, especially in the secondary to line everybody up.
Brandon Taylor's with us, former All-SEC safety at LSU. Have you got a chance to meet Brian Kelly yet?
No, sir, I have not.
So watching from afar, what have been your impressions of how he's come in and how he's handled things?
So from his demeanor and talking to former players that played for him, like Harrison Smith, he played safety for him at Notre Dame. I played with Manti Te'o in San Diego. I talked to him about him. And from what I got from him, the closest thing that he reminds me to is Coach John Shavers. Like, he's very militant. Like, he's by the book, and he's a rules coach, and you're gonna hold you accountable. He's not afraid. He's not gonna be afraid to. If you in the meeting room, he's gonna call your name out, and which that's what you're supposed to do. Like, people say, "Oh, you ain't supposed to point the finger." No, you're not supposed to point the finger in the media in the open. But when we in that room together as a team, I'm calling you out. Because when you make a play, you're going to want me to call you out. So when you make a mistake, I'm going to do the same thing. So I think that's what they need, and I think that's what he's going to bring.
Do you have a feeling on defensive coordinator Matt House? I know you only got to see a little bit on Saturday, but based on what he's trying to do and implement defensively there?
Oh, yes, sir, I do. And just players that he's coached, like Tyrann Mathieu, he coached him in the NFL, like, just seeing that. So as a secondary guy, you see the type of players that he's coached on in the secondary, like Tyrann Mathieu, a bunch of guys that made plays in the NFL for the Chiefs. Your secondary guys, they're going to have to be able to cover, make plays, and communicate. So that goes back to the conversation we was having earlier. Those young safeties back there, they're going to have to be the guys. They're going to have to be the bell cows on the defense.
Hey, Brandon, when you got to LSU in 2008, coming off a championship, and then 2008 was obviously not a great year. It was a 7-win regular season. It was statistically the worst year under Les. But you were part of that, of building it back to what it became, obviously, in 2011, where, it was, until 2019, the best team LSU ever had. Do you see commonalities or what was so important to get that thing going in the right direction again, which is basically what this team and this staff is trying to do right now?
So the main thing it was having the older guys. Like, we had Kelvin Shepard, we have a Drake Nevis, Chad Jones. Like, you had that core group of older guys, and you had that core group of younger guys, which was my freshman class going into our sophomore year, that we knew was going to potentially be playing. And the thing is trusting those coaches coming in. I'm telling you, as a player that didn't get recruited by those coaches and them coming in, my nerves was wrecked. But when we came in, and Coach Shavers, he asked each and every one of us, he said, "Am I allowed to coach y'all?" And we said, "Yes, sir, you are allowed to coach us." And he said, "Just trust me." And the next day, he moved me from corner to safety. And after that, we had a hell of a run as a team and as a unit at LSU. It's just all about everybody buying into the process and just trusting what the coaches bring and just knowing that they're there to win too, because if not, they see the turnaround of coaches at LSU if you're not producing. So they know what's on the line as well.
Brandon Taylor is our guest, of course, LSU Sports Radio Network. Are you going to be back on the game day broadcast this year?
Oh, yes, indeed, I am.
I love to hear it, man. A couple more. When you look at this LSU team, like you mentioned, like the older guys, but all the guys you mentioned also were NFL guys. Do you think this team has the talent on it to be a team that can flip from a 6-win team to an 8, 9+ win team?
Oh, yes, indeed. I think that about it's because you come to this school for that. The way LSU's win, it's been a quick turnover school. Like, if you ain't producing your first 1 or 2 years, like, you consider a bust at LSU. But when I first got to LSU, most players wasn't touching the field until their senior year, fifth year, senior year. Like, my brother he didn't start to his redshirt junior year, which was the 07 year, and won a national championship and ended up getting drafted. So it's changed. Times have changed, and the time that players had to develop is sped up a lot. So right now, I think with this new coaching staff, all the players come with a clean slate, and it gives them that a new confidence and a new motivation. Like, okay, we got new coaches. Now I can step it up. Now I can get that reboot and showcase myself because I'm starting with a clean slate. So I think you're going to see a whole different type of energy with all these players on the field.
All right, I could ask you. I probably wouldn't be able to ask you this question if you were a player, or at least not get a legit answer. But as an analyst, I can ask you. Give me your thoughts on the quarterback.
On the quarterback, what I want to see is a guy that's going to go out there and just take the position. Leave no doubt. I've been dealing with 2 quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks since I've been at LSU, since I've been watching LSU. Back to Matt Malk, Jamarcus. Just back then, like, let's get a guy in there that's going to take reins of the team. And if he makes a mistake, okay, let's coach him up. Let's develop him. Let's just not just – because you can get all the recruits you want to at quarterback. If you can't develop him as a quarterback, you're going to be in the same place each and every year. Like, let's get one guy and let's ride him the whole season. Because the flip-flopping thing, you divide the locker room up, you divide the fans up, you divide the media up. Like, let's come together as a team, as a community, as a LSU Nation, and let's support our guy, whoever it is, and the backup. You be the best backup it is possible. And when your number is called, you be ready.
All right, who do you think it's going to be?
From my point of view, I think it's going to be Daniel.
Why?
He has the experience to play through a whole season. He has a good resume. I think Noose is a hell of a player. But if he gets one more year to watch and actually examine, like, defenses, especially the way the game is going, and to get acclimated into a new offense, a new coaching staff, because you got to think, all the quarterbacks we've had in the past, it's been a new coach, new quarterback, new coach, new quarterback, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. And for him to get 2 years with the offensive coordinator, oh, my God. I'm telling you, oh, my God.
He is on Twitter at Brandon18Taylor. Go give him a follow. Former Tiger safety. Great Tiger. 3-time team captain as well. Former team captain as well. 3-year starter, I should say. Brandon Taylor. Listen for him on the LSU Sports Radio Network this fall. Coming up a week from Sunday. Game 1 against Florida State. Hey, man, hopefully that satisfied your craving for a minute anyway.
Oh, yes, indeed. You done scratched that itch, and I appreciate you, Matt.
All right, Brandon. Be well, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, you too.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.